Episode 38, Behind the Red Line. Anthony Sowell, the Cleveland Strangler, on Cleveland's east side, at the edge of a neighborhood time forgot. There stood a 3-story house that looked like any other. An old wooden porch, chipping paint, curtains drawn tight, and a scent that lingered in the air. Thick, foul, unforgettable. For years, the people of Imperial Avenue complained about it. A rotting, sour odor that drifted through the humidity of summer, through the freezing Ohio winters, through every season without explanation. They called the city. They blamed the nearby sausage shop. They blamed garbage. They blamed dead animals. But the truth was darker than anything they imagined, because inside that house, inside the home of a man named Anthony Sowell, bodies were decomposing in silence. 11 women, hidden in shallow graves, crawl spaces, corners, and plastic bags, discarded like trash, just feet from everyday life. This is the story of the Cleveland Strangler. To understand how Sowell operated for years without being stopped, you have to understand where this story takes place. Mount Pleasant, Cleveland, a neighborhood carved by poverty, abandoned homes, addiction, and neglect. In the early 2000s, this area was struggling. Factories closed, crime rose, homes were boarded up, people disappeared, and often no one came looking. Women battling addiction, homelessness, or doing survival sex work were at constant risk. They were often ignored by police, judged by the public, and left to fend for themselves. Anthony Sowell knew this. He lived among it. He watched the system fail these women, and he took full advantage. Imperial Avenue wasn't a random hunting ground. It was a place where women could go missing, and their friends, families, and community would struggle to get the police to take them seriously. This wasn't coincidence. This was opportunity, and Sowell knew exactly how to exploit it. Anthony Sowell was born on August 19th, 1959. But his childhood was anything but ordinary, and nothing about it hinted at a happy ending. He grew up in a crowded home with his mother and a swarm of nieces and nephews. The house was filled with children, noise, chaos, and violence. Several relatives later said that Sowell's mother beat the children harshly. Whippings, punishments, cruelty disguised as discipline. But what stood out most was something even darker. Anthony, as a boy, allegedly participated in abusing one of the nieces in the home. A pattern that would foreshadow everything he would eventually become. By adulthood, Sowell seemed quiet, shy, unassuming. He joined the Marine Corps in 1978. served 7 years, earned honors, learned discipline, structure, and how to mask emotion. But when he returned home, something had changed. The violence inside him simmered, and in 1989, he attacked a pregnant woman, holding a knife to her throat and attempting to rape her. He was convicted of attempted rape and served 15 years. When he was released in 2005, the world saw him as a free man. But inside, he was the same monster, just waiting for an opportunity. Sowell moved into a house on 12,205 Imperial Avenue, a home he inherited after leaving prison. It was a quiet, aging house in a neighborhood where police sirens were common and cries for help were often ignored. Inside, the house was deteriorating. Peeling wallpaper, rotting floors, broken fixtures, and a growing darkness that lived inside the walls. Sowell made a habit of inviting vulnerable women inside. He approached them on the street, at liquor stores, near abandoned buildings, offering alcohol, drugs, or a safe place to rest. Many of these women battled addiction. Many had nowhere else to go. And for a moment, Sowell's home seemed like a harmless stop. But behind closed doors, it became a trap. Between 2007 and 2009, Sowell preyed on at least 11 women. But the true number may be higher. Many believe he began killing earlier. What he looked for was simple: isolation, desperation. Women society had given up on. Inside his home, Sowell became violent, strangling his victims during what he later referred to as consensual encounters. But the details contradicted every word he said. There were signs of force, bruises, defensive wounds, struggle that left rooms torn apart. And when each woman took her final breath, Sowell treated their bodies with chilling disregard. Some were buried in shallow graves in the basement. Some were hidden under the stairs. Some were decomposing upstairs near an open window. Others were double-bagged, wrapped in plastic, tossed into corners like garbage. And still, the smell grew. By 2008, the odor around Sowell's home became unmistakable. Neighbors described it as rotting meat, decay, a smell that made you gag. People complained repeatedly. Some blamed the sausage factory next door. Others accused the owner of not taking out his trash. One man said he couldn't open his windows without vomiting. City workers were called out. Health inspectors investigated. But no one checked inside Sowell's home. The odor was always dismissed. But the truth was simple. The house was full of death. Before the bodies were discovered, there were women who escaped, women who ran barefoot into the night, women who reported his attacks, women who begged police to listen. One survivor said Sowell lured her into his home and assaulted her violently, choking her until she passed out. When she awoke, she fled and reported it, only to be brushed off as unreliable because of her addiction. Another woman crawled out of a window to escape him. She told authorities. Nothing came of it. These women survived horrors no one believed. If police had listened, if their stories had been taken seriously, many lives could have been saved. Everything changed in September 2009. A woman named Latundra Billups went to Sowell's home. She trusted him. They had known each other before. But once inside, Sowell became violent. He strangled her until she blacked out. She managed to escape, bruised, terrified, gasping for breath. This time, she found the strength to go to police again. This time, they listened. An arrest warrant was issued. When police arrived at Sowell's home on October 29, 2009, he wasn't there. But the smell was overwhelming. They entered the house. What they found would haunt Cleveland. 2 bodies on the 3rd floor. More in the basement. More buried in shallow graves in the backyard. More in crawl spaces. More in corners. Everywhere. Death. 11 women in total, all missing, all loved, all forgotten by a system that didn't take their disappearance seriously. News spread instantly. Crowds gathered. Families screamed. Cleveland was shaken to its core. Sowell was on the run. For 2 days, he wandered the city, sleeping outside, trying to blend in. But on October 31st, 2009, Halloween night, police found him walking near East 123rd Street. He surrendered quietly, calmly, without a fight, as if he knew it was finally over. In 2010, Anthony Sowell was indicted on 85 counts, including aggravated murder, kidnapping, rape, and abuse of corpses. The trial was emotional. Families cried as they heard the details. Photos of the victims were displayed. Women who had been mothers, daughters, sisters, friends. Prosecutors showed how Sowell strangled his victims during sex, then stored their bodies for months. How the smell of decomposing flesh became part of daily life on Imperial Avenue. How neighbors were dismissed. In July 2011, Sowell was found guilty on 82 of 85 counts. He was sentenced to death. In 2021, before his execution, he died in prison from a terminal illness, spared the fate many believed he deserved. Tonight, we remember the women whose lives were stolen: Tonya Carmichael, Tishana Culver, Nancy Cobbs, Imelda Amy Hunter, Crystal Dozier, Diane Turner, Michelle Mason, Janice Webb, Kim Yvette Smith, Talasia Fortson, Leslie Les Wiggins. They were daughters, mothers, friends, women who deserved safety, care, and protection. Their lives were far more important than the man who took them. The story of Anthony Sowell isn't just a story about a serial killer. It's a story about what happens when society stops listening, when victims are ignored, when neighborhoods are abandoned, and when predators learn they can operate in the shadows without consequence. Today, the house on Imperial Avenue is gone, demolished in 2011. But the memories remain, the trauma remains, and the lessons remain. Listen to people when they say something is wrong. Believe survivors. Never assume silence means safety. This was the story of Anthony Sowell, the Cleveland Strangler.